my name is Christy Rich. I'm a holistic healer, I am a spiritual teacher, and I am an empath. And today's talk is going to be empathy is a superpower. Okay, so let's dive right in. So I'm going to tell you a little story today, or actually many stories, and I think that this will inspire you. So when I was a little girl, I was very sensitive. Okay, and I always heard again and again, Christy, you're too sensitive. Can anyone relate to that? Let me know in the comments. So I didn't know at the time. Hi, David. Thanks for having me as part of a Speaker on Speaker Week. It's great to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let me know in the comments if you are an empath. Let me know if you know what an empath is. So as I said, when I was a little girl, I didn't know what an empath was. All I knew was that I was super sensitive, and I just heard again and again that this was a weakness. So I heard, you're too sensitive, Christy. You need to be stronger. You need to have a stiff upper lip. You need to have a thicker skin. You need to stop being so sensitive. So I took that to heart. I was like, okay, this is a negative quality. I need to do something about it. So I need to be stronger. I need to be more powerful. So what did I do? I decided to work on my confidence. Okay? Again, let me know in the comments if you can relate. So I went outside of my comfort zone. I started traveling. Okay, I did my junior year abroad in London. I studied acting. I was a theater performance major, so I put myself on the big stage. Okay, I was vulnerable. I was out there. I started doing stand-up. I did stand-up comedy. I moved to New York City. I was an actress in New York City. I moved to San Francisco and Los Angeles. I was acting out there, and I was doing stand-up comedy out there. Okay, so some may hear this story and they may say, oh wow, well Christy, that's your superpower. You are courageous, you are brave, you are bold. I could never do stand-up comedy. That's scary. But no, my superpower is actually my empathy. Okay, so I realized that, well, I didn't realize at the time that that was my superpower, but through time I have. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about other superpowers. So yes, you may say bravery is a superpower. You may say that confidence is a superpower. You may say that courage is a superpower. And I think for a lot of us, we tend to value these higher than empathy. And why is that? Let's take a look at that. Why do we value these more active, more bold attributes instead of empathy? And also, what is an empath? Okay, so different qualities such as being productive, hustling, being bold, these are very masculine qualities, right? And a lot of times we think that that contributes to success. Okay, you gotta hustle, you gotta try hard, you gotta work hard. These are all great qualities, and yes, these are superpowers, but it's also important to know that being an empath, being sensitive, having empathy for others, feeling what others are feeling their pain, going a little bit slower, listening, okay, taking the time to really understand what someone else is going through, and also to understand ourselves better. This is a superpower, and this is something I believe that we need to value more of in life. Okay, so let's take some time to pause and think, why do we value these other attributes, these other superpowers, more than really connecting with others and really tuning in to getting clarity about how they are feeling, how they're doing, and how we can help them. Okay, so I'm going to share with you another story, and this goes deeper into my empathy and how it became my superpower. Okay, so I'm really excited to share this story with you. This is the first time I've shared this story publicly. Okay, so this goes back years and years ago. This goes back to, well, I won't say how far, but years and years ago, I got a dog. Okay, so I got a dog named Shadow. I grew up with dogs. As I said, I'm an empath, so that means that I have so much empathy for others. I feel their pain. I, tend to give. And so I was given this dog, Shadow, when I was many years ago. And he was one of 11 puppies. So he was picked out from a breeder, one of 11 puppies, and he was picked out because he could walk on linoleum. So we saw all the puppies in the breeder's kitchen, and all the puppies came rushing out, running out, so cute and so happy. And Shadow was the only one who, I forgot how many weeks old they were, who wasn't slipping and sliding all over the floor. He was the one who was walking, who was running, who was confident. Okay, so we picked him out. We said, Shadow is the strongest dog here. We are going to go with Shadow. Okay, so to give you a little backstory, we had a dog before Shadow, and at the end of his life, he was very, very sick. Okay, so it was very sad. It was very hard on all of us to see my other dog, Magic, go through what he went through. So he had seizures at the end, and he was suffering, he was struggling. So we all decided that we wanted to get another dog, and we wanted to find a dog that was the healthiest dog so this wouldn't happen to us again. So we wouldn't be heartbroken to see him deteriorate at the end. So we picked Shadow, thinking he was the strongest, okay, and we were very excited. We took him home, and unfortunately, Shadow became a very sick dog. So we were beside ourselves. We were wondering why this happened. We were giving him the best dog food, we were making sure it was the best quality kibble, and he was very, very sick, basically as soon as we got him home. And after some time, we realized that we had made a mistake, that we had brought him home too soon, and that we had picked him from a new breeder. They were new, they were inexperienced, they were trying to get rid of the dogs, have everyone pick up their dogs as soon as possible. But what happened was that the puppies didn't get to spend enough time with their mother, that precious bonding time, and they didn't have the time to nurse longer. And we know, because it's the same for us as it is with animals, that the longer you nurse, the longer you have that time bonding with your mother, the healthier and stronger you will be. It will boost your immune system if you have longer time to nurse, to have that breastfeeding time. And so Shadow didn't have that. He was weaned very, very early. So when we got him, we gave him the food, it wasn't enough to boost his immune system. So he got sick all the time. So he had ear infection after ear infection, and it was really hard for us. And then something very interesting started to happen. He got even sicker than ear infections. He started to bite himself. So he started to bite, just like nibble on his paws, on the tops of his paws, until there was no hair at all on the tops of his paws. And then he would bite on the side. He would just nod himself. He would just be so itchy. He would bite until there was no hair there. And then he would scratch his neck just feverishly until there was no hair on his neck. And then he would do the same thing with his chin, scratch, 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 and there was no hair here. So he was always biting and scratching, and he was just not comfortable, okay? But living with my dog, he drove me crazy. So I was so upset and annoyed and irritated by him scratching and biting constantly. He wouldn't stop. But we had many other dogs before, and so I knew the importance of dog obedience. And so I said, okay, we got to teach him at a young age that he's got to know and what he should be doing, and then he will stop. So as soon as he started biting, I would say, no, Shadow, no biting. And he would learn no. So he got it. He understood what no was. But then several minutes later, he would start biting again. And I'd be like, no, bad boy. So it wasn't helping. It wasn't helping with the, dog obedience, saying the command. He was still biting himself. So then I realized that, okay, I had to do something. I had to take a different approach. I didn't know what that was. So I decided to go to a new class. I decided to try Buddhism for the first time. And I'd always been curious about what Buddhism was about. And so I went to this class, and this teacher taught me something very profound, this first class that changed my life and actually changed my dog's life. So she said, and of course I'm paraphrasing, she said something like, we are lucky that we are conscious beings. We are lucky that we are conscious, sentient beings, And those that are conscious, those that are mindful, they have the power to reflect and then to change their lives, to improve it for the better. Whereas those who are not conscious, such as animals, they suffer. Big light bulb moment. That was profound. I had never thought about it that way. So suddenly I realized that Shadow was suffering. That Shadow didn't have the ability to reflect, to say, okay, my paws are really itchy. Okay, I bite them, they feel a little bit better, but they're still itchy afterwards. What can I do to improve my paws? Can I dip them into water? Can I think about something else for a few minutes? Can I distract myself? No, dogs can't do that. They can't think that way. So I realized that it was up to me, since I was the one who was conscious, that I was the only one who could help Shadow. Shadow couldn't help himself. So this was profound. This was like, wow, okay, all this time I thought I was suffering. I thought Shadow was just being a bad boy, driving me crazy, but I was the one who was suffering. But really, Shadow was the one who was suffering. Shadow couldn't help himself. Shadow couldn't improve. So that's when I decided to help Shadow. That's when I had so much empathy and said, oh my goodness, my baby, he's really suffering. I've got to help him. And so I took it into my own hands. So then I started to do research. Okay, so I started to do research to find out how I could help my dog. Actually, was that the first step that I took? No, I think I actually took him to the vet first. Okay, so I did take him to the vet first. And I took him to the vet, had all these tests done. The vet was perplexed and she didn't know why he was biting himself so badly. And so she said, you know what, you need to go to a specialist. You need to go to a vet dermatologist. Okay, does anybody know that there are vet dermatologists? There are specialists who help dogs with their skin. Okay, so we took him to this vet dermatologist, very, very expensive. And they saw that, he was missing hair in his chin, his neck, his side, his tops of all of his paws. They saw it was very bad. They didn't understand why it was happening either. Okay, so then they said, well, maybe it's food allergies. Maybe he's allergic to the food that he's eating. So we said, okay, great job. Let's change his food. So we changed the food to something else. No change. We changed the food to something else. No change. We changed the food again to something else. No change. No change at all. Okay? We went to this very fancy dermatologist specifically for pets. They weren't able to help him. No other ideas. We went back to the first vet and said, okay, we went to the vet dermatologist. He's no better. What do you suggest? And she said, well, I think he's got mange. And I said, what? She's like, he's got mange. We've got to give him shots. That's what we need to do next. And that's when I really stood up for Shadow. I said, no way does my dog have mange. We didn't get this dog from the streets. He hadn't been outside homeless for months before we got him. We don't keep him outside. He's an indoor dog. We bathe our dog. So he does not have mange. So I said, you know what? If you don't know how to help him, I am going to heal him myself. I am going to get to the root cause, to the bottom of this, and get him healthy. So that's what I did. So I basically started doing research. I started reading books and found out there were books talking about the food that we give our dogs, and really going into details about the ingredients, and really going into details about how unhealthy pet food is for our pets. So I didn't know this. I had no idea that kibble was so bad for our pets. I had an idea that canned dog food was probably not as good as kibble, but I didn't know they were both very, very unhealthy for our pets. And I found out all sorts of things, such as it includes animal byproducts, the parts of the animal that they would normally throw away, that we don't eat, they put that into dog food. So basically all the leftovers, anything that they would just say, okay, good enough to toss, let's put it in the dog food. Or like so much wheat, okay, which again breaks down into sugar. Dogs don't really need wheat. They need protein. They need, meat. And instead that turns into sugars. That turns into inflammation in the body, right? And they were putting stuff like corn in there, which dogs can't even digest. And they're putting all sorts of chemicals in there. all sorts of bad stuff. I don't want to get into too much of all the, stuff they put in there that's really very hazardous, okay? And really contributes to poor health for animals. And most people are not aware of this. So anyway, once I found this out, again, it was another big revelation. And I said, I cannot give my dog kibble. I cannot give him this poor quality food. This is contributing to his poor health. So I took him completely off the kibble. I said, no more of that. I am going to heal him. I'm going to find out the root cause, and I'm going to give him better quality food. Because I knew that we are what we eat, right? We know that. We know that we are what we eat, that we should eat good quality food, that we can't live on processed food every single day. So why do we think that animals can? Our pets can. And we love our pets, right? I'm sure there's a lot of other pet lovers out there like me. So what I did was I started to make homemade food for Shadow every day. Every day, homemade food that I would have eaten myself, bought it from the grocery store, good quality food. And what I did was I said, you know what, he probably does have food allergies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a food rotation diet. And just 1 week, I'll give him one item, and then I'll switch it the next week. I will take notes, and I'll get really clear about what's helping, when he's improving, when he's the same, and when he's actually getting worse. So I did this, and it was very eye-opening. So basically, I found out that Shadow was allergic to everything. Shadow was allergic to chicken. Shadow was allergic to beef. Shadow was allergic to dairy. Shadow was allergic to soy, and even wheat, and even gluten. Okay, Shadow was allergic to a lot of food. And I, again, had so much empathy for Shadow. Because at the time, I had a chronic illness. I had a debilitating chronic illness, and I learned about myself that I had food allergies, that I was allergic to soy, that I was allergic to wheat, that I was allergic to dairy, and then later on, that I was allergic to gluten even. So I had so much empathy that my dog was going through similar issues. And this is not something we think of with our dogs of having gluten intolerance like we do. We don't think about that. We don't think about how certain food can make them ill and they can't speak up for themselves, right? So again, I was like, wow, I have so much empathy. This dog has so much in common with me. He's struggling with his health. I'm struggling with my health. We've got food allergies, the same food allergies. Okay, what are the chances? And so I started giving him the food that he could eat. I gave him the food that didn't make him sick, that didn't have the allergic reactions, and he started to improve. So it was, a process, but basically the hair did start to grow back on his paws. He had this area here, which I said had no hair, and for a while there was some like green goo that was coming out, and it was really stinky, so it was not very pleasant at all. I knew something was going on with him. So I would just wash this area with a nice little washcloth and some mild soap, and I would put some natural aloe on his skin. So aloe, you may know, is very good for reducing inflammation. It's very cooling, okay? It's all natural. I didn't use the kind from CVS that has artificial colors in there or alcohol in there. It was just pure aloe. And I put it on his skin, and then I knew that that was very safe for him in case he was like, ooh, that's really cold. Let me lick that off. I knew there would be no problem if he licked it off. It would be safe because it's all natural. So Shadow started to improve. He stopped getting the ear infections. Okay, that was huge. All right. And the hair started growing back. And the most miraculous thing was that he was happier. He was happier. He was more energized. He started running. He started bounding. He was no longer this lethargic, mopey, sad, grumpy dog. He had confidence. He had joy. He was happy. Okay, so this was huge because I realized that when he felt better physically, he felt better emotionally, and his personality changed. He was completely a new dog, so loving, so sweet, goofy. And it was such a joy to see this transformation. So I took him back to the vet, and then she ran some tests, and she found out, yes, his immune system was now good. I had boosted his immune system. And she was so amazed. She goes, what did you do? What a great change in your dog. And so I told her what I did. And she was just in disbelief. Like, she could not believe that by cooking for him like real good food and giving him supplements that were human supplements that I gave to him, boosted his immune system, and that drastic of a change. So that's when I realized that, okay, she wasn't the right vet for me. She didn't quite understand what I was doing and the importance of, proper health and nutrition and, getting to the root cause. So then I went to a holistic vet and I started working with him. He was fabulous. We had these great conversations. He could really understand all the research that I had done and what I had learned. And so then I started taking him to that vet after that. So to sum up the story, I had empathy. I went with this empathy to help heal my dog. Actually, at a time when I had a chronic illness, I decided to heal my dog before even healing myself of my chronic illness. Okay? But it became my superpower because I helped Shadow to live a rich, healthy life. He ended up being 16 years old, which is a pretty long time for a Labrador Retriever, since he's a bigger dog. He was a bigger dog. And so I was able to help him. And then from that experience, I learned how to heal myself. And then I did overcome my chronic illness. Okay? And then I became a healer. And from that experience, I have helped so many people all around the world to conquer their chronic conditions, to improve their health and wellness, to thrive in their lives, in their careers, in their personal lives, all because of Shadow, all because Shadow helped me to realize how important it was to really care for someone and to really look into their pain and suffering. Okay, so I hope that inspires you. I hope that gives you a little incentive to focus on your health and wellness, to prioritize it, but also to see empathy as a superpower, not as a weakness. Okay, we hear a lot about empaths, and we hear a lot about the struggles that they go through. So yes, again, I will just briefly talk about that. Empaths are very sensitive, and we can have problems with boundaries. We can have very unhealthy boundaries because we want to give. We want so much for other people to feel good that we forget about ourselves. We forget about our self-care. We forget about the things we need to do. Okay? We are people pleasers. We want so much for others to feel good, for others to like us, appreciate everything that we do. And so that can lead to chronic illness, that can lead to depression, overwhelm, and even burnout. Okay? So it's very important, if you are an empath like myself, if you're very sensitive, if you do actually feel other people's pain and want to take it away, sometimes actual physical pain too, okay, and then you take that on as yours and it becomes an illness, it's very important to be mindful. Okay, it's very important to be mindful of what it is to be an empath, but if you are mindful, then you can change it, okay? We can always work on our weaknesses. We can always, improve ourselves, but we have to be mindful about it. So these days, as I mentioned, I am helping empathic women. I'm working with creatives. Of course, we attract people who are similar to us, so since I'm creative and an empath, these are mostly the clients who I attract. Okay, so I help them to improve their health and wellness. I help them if they have toxic relationships and they need to have healthier boundaries, or if they need to let somebody go, or if they have, terrible heartbreak from losing a loved one, if they have grief, if they have any chronic conditions they want to treat naturally, because again, I have that experience with healing my dog and then healing myself 100% naturally. For myself, it was also what I learned from Shadow. I changed my diet. I did get into meditation. It's something I couldn't do with my dog, but also through the power of meditation, I healed myself, and also just by taking natural supplements. So I want you to know also the power of natural remedies, how powerful they can be once you do identify what the root cause is. Okay, so if you are somebody who's looking for some guidance, if you're looking for a spiritual teacher, or if you're looking for a healer to help you in any area of your life, perhaps with your mental well-being, definitely reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you. You can feel in if you're an empath, if it seems like the right fit. I can drop my link in the comments below so you can set up a free call if you're interested in connecting. We can chat over Zoom. And you can learn a little bit more about my services, how I help my clients. And if you are someone who would like to participate in free trainings and learn more about what I do and my expertise, I also do have a free private Facebook group. It's called Live an Extraordinary Life and Enjoy. So it's for anyone who wants to live an extraordinary life and to enjoy themselves, especially, again, the creatives and the empaths, but anyone who wants to live an extraordinary life. So you're welcome to join. I will put the link in the comments below. You can just click on that and I will accept you. And I do meditations in there. I do creative visualizations in there to help you to ground yourself, to open up your heart, to go towards your dreams, to prioritize you. And so you can participate in those. Sometimes I do some challenges. Sometimes I talk about astrology, because astrology does affect us too, and give lots of inspiration. So definitely join if that feels like a fit for you. I'd love to have you to be a part of the group. And David, thank you so much again for letting me talk for Speakers Week. This was a real joy. I love to talk about what I do and share my stories. And it was really fun to share that story about Shadow, because that is the very first time I have shared that publicly. And of course he was a joy. He was my baby, and I was so happy for what I learned through the experience of helping him. Okay, so that's something that can happen being an empath. If you dive into it and dive into the superpower of it, it can open up doors. Okay, not just doors with your career like it did with me, but it can open up talents. So for me, it also opened up my clairvoyance. It opened up my intuition, and now I'm also a medium. Okay, so also if you're interested in building any spiritual skills, we can also work on that working together. Okay, does anybody have any questions? If anybody has any questions, please type them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer any questions since I have a few minutes. And anyone who's watching the replay, definitely please go ahead and do #replay. Let me know that you watched. And you can also ask a question and I will circle back. Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes to type. I don't see any comments yet, but thank you all who joined live. And again, thank you for David for this beautiful opportunity. I think it's a wonderful group that you have. And I'll just leave it on this note since I don't see any questions. I want to encourage all of you to really dream big and to see empathy as a superpower. Okay, so I want you to not be like Shadow, not be in the shadows, unconscious, okay? Not to be suffering, but to allow yourself to be on the stage of light, to allow that spotlight to be on you and for you to shine. Okay, we all have gifts, we all have talents, and now is the time for us to truly shine. Okay, so if you need help shining, if you need help getting your light, getting your brilliance, getting your talents out into the world, definitely reach out to me. Again, I will put the link in the comments below. And again, join me in my private Facebook group if that feels like a fit. And please leave a heart, leave a comment if you enjoyed this video. All right, so thanks again, everyone. Have a beautiful day, have a gorgeous weekend, and hope to connect with you soon. Bye for now.